Hello everyone, and welcome to this explainer on mastering the 2026 PMP exam. Listen, if you're gearing up for certification, you already know it takes some serious dedication. But today, we're zeroing in on the absolute biggest hurdle standing between you and that passing score. I'm talking about situational questions. You know, over 80% of the modern exam is made up of these incredibly tricky scenario-based questions. They're designed to test how you react under pressure, not just what you've memorized from a book. So we're going to crack the code on exactly how to solve them.
Let's start right off with an example. Imagine you're managing a hybrid project. You're in execution and a key stakeholder comes to you complaining they haven't received their weekly progress reports. On top of that, the team is currently behind schedule. What should the project manager do first? Now, be honest with yourself here. What does your real-world gut instinct tell you to do? If you're like most experienced professionals, you're probably thinking, well, I'd apologize, draft that report, and fire it off immediately just to keep the stakeholder happy, right?
Well, here is the harsh truth. Relying on your real-world experience is actually the biggest mistake you can make on the PMP exam. Seriously, that real-world shortcut, just apologizing and sending the report, will literally guarantee a failed question. To pass, you have to operate in what we like to call the PMI utopia. In this perfect and, sometimes frustratingly rigid world, you never ever make a rash decision. Instead, your first step would be to check your communications management plan.
To help you consistently eliminate those trap answers and pick responses that perfectly align with the PMB OK guide, here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The real-world trap, 2. Mastering the PMI mindset, 3. The elimination framework, and 4. A practice scenario breakdown.
Section 1. The real-world trap. Okay, let's dive into this and talk about why your impressive, hard-earned professional experience might actually be your worst enemy right now.
To crush this exam, you absolutely must adopt the PMI mindset. Think of it as a very specific set of ethical, procedural, and leadership rules. In this ideal universe, you are a servant leader, equipped with incredibly high emotional intelligence. You are the true CEO of your project. You take complete ownership, you follow procedures to the letter, and you never bypass formal processes. You kind of have to temporarily forget all those fast and loose shortcuts your current company might use and just step fully into this perfect framework.
Because situational questions dominate the test, spotting linguistic clues in the answer choices is absolutely critical. Trap answers almost always use impulsive, aggressive action verbs, words like fire, force, demand, or escalate. On the flip side, the correct PMI actions lean heavily on strategic, assessment-focused verbs. Think review, analyze, document, and facilitate. Section 2. Mastering the PMI mindset. Let's see how this builds into 4 unbreakable rules that govern this perfect project management universe.
All right, here are the 4 pillars of the PMI mindset. Rule 1. Assess before acting. You've got to be a strategic thinker, never a reactive one. Rule 2. Never pass the buck. Escalating a problem to a sponsor? That is almost always a trap answer, unless we're talking about a massive external change completely outside your authority. Rule 3. Formal change control is king. And Rule 4. Face-to-face communication fixes conflict.
Now, what's really interesting about this is just how rigid Rule 3 really is, especially when dealing with predictive waterfall environments. Scope creep is basically a cardinal sin here. If a client asks for a tiny extra feature, you cannot just say sure and add it. No way. You have to follow a strict 6-step flow. Acknowledge the request, document it in a log, analyze the impact on time and cost, submit it to the change control board, update your plans based on their decision, and only then execute. If an answer choice says implement the change before you've done steps 1 through 5, absolute trap.
And regarding Rule 4, keep in mind that the people domain makes up a massive 42% of your exam. That is huge. You're going to face dozens of questions about team conflicts, sending passive-aggressive emails, hiding behind HR policies, or punishing team members. All traps. The PMI way is to always schedule private meetings, collaborate, and facilitate consensus. Direct, face-to-face communication is your ultimate tool here.
Section 3. The elimination framework. Let's transition to a highly tactical tool you can use when you're staring at the screen and 2 multiple-choice answers both look completely correct. This is our 4-step elimination framework, and it's a real game changer. Step 1. Identify the methodology. Are you an agile, predictive, or hybrid? Because a predictive change control board isn't going to solve a problem in an agile 2-week sprint. Step 2. Identify the phase.
If you're in the executing phase, drafting a project charter is definitely the wrong answer. Step 3, kill the absolutes. Words like always, never, or immediately completely violate the servant leadership model. And step 4, apply the first rule. If the question asks what to do first or next, always choose the assessment option over the action option.
Section 4, Practice Scenarios. Reading about the mindset is one thing, but applying it under pressure? That's another story. Let's put this framework to the test using real PMBOK 7th edition questions.
Consider this tricky scenario. You're working on a hybrid project to replace an aging customer system, and there's just been a feature upgrade release. During the daily stand-up, a senior developer raises a concern that the system can't seem to connect to parts of the organization after the upgrade. What will you do next? Now pause for a second. Think about our framework. What methodology are we in? What phase are we in? Let's look at our options and eliminate the traps live. Option A, replan the project scope. Actually, scratch that. Replanning is a massive leap to take before we've even properly assessed the problem, so A is totally out. What about option C, escalate to the technical manager? Remember Rule 2, never pass the buck. Escalating directly violates your role as the CEO of the project. Which leaves us with the correct choice, option B. Raise the concern in the issue log and assign a responsible party. Notice how documenting the issue first perfectly aligns with those PMI assessment rules we talked about? You acknowledge and log the problem before taking any drastic action. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's written in the PM Book Guide 7th edition. On page 185, it literally states, an issue log is used to record and monitor information on active issues. Issues are assigned to a responsible party for follow-up. By strictly following the PMI mindset, you arrive right at the textbook answer without any of that stressful second guessing. Let's try one more. Here's a second scenario, but this time we're focusing entirely on the people domain to test our conflict resolution rules. So, you've been assigned to a new project where the work is behind schedule. The team is relatively new, conflicts are arising all over the place, and members are actively blaming each other for work not being done. What do you do? Well, if an option suggests removing problematic members, forcing a strict schedule on them, or escalating to upper management, those are classic traps. The truth, and the only correct path here, is to step up and act as a servant leader. You have to facilitate open, respectful communication, focusing on the issue itself, searching for alternatives together, to create a collaborative, win-win outcome. Again, we can validate this correct approach straight from the source text. Page 29 of the PMBOK Guide 7th edition points out that how conflict is handled can either lead to more conflict or better decision-making. It explicitly notes that communication should focus on the issue, not the person, and look at the present, not the past. Successfully managing complex human behavior is absolutely critical to your success as a project manager. Bringing everything together, the 7th edition of the PMBOK Guide made a big shift. It moved away from those old-school, rigid processes and introduced 8 project performance domains: stakeholders, team, development approach, planning, project work, delivery, measurement, and uncertainty. Mastering the PMI mindset, acting as that servant leader, and heavily relying on our elimination framework is exactly how you'll successfully navigate all 8 of these domains on exam day. Look, getting this certification is absolutely one of the most important things you can do for your career. Projects are everywhere, they are certainly not going away, and organizations worldwide desperately need skilled leaders who know how to navigate complexity. If you put in the preparation, use this exact mindset to eliminate those tricky traps, and just keep learning a little bit every single day, I truly believe that you can absolutely pass the PMP exam. You now have the framework to beat the real-world trap. You know you need to assess before acting, never pass the buck, completely respect formal change control, and face conflict head-on. So, I'm going to leave you with this question. What will be your first step today on your journey to certification? Take this framework, apply the mindset, and go conquer that exam. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.